One of those fun weeks where, yeah, it's, meetings running into meetings. And today it is time for Geek Speak.
Yes, the first week, 2 weeks of January tend to be something else. Hey,
They are very exciting. You put out a bunch of, hey, we should book a meeting with a client, and then everyone decides to take advantage of that. And then all of a sudden your calendar's full, and you're like, oh, Thursday's going to be fun.
that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's how I'm feeling over here too. It's like everybody's got fresh new start, fresh new year, fresh new quarter, fresh new everything on their mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then everyone's like had like little breaks, and now they're coming back, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, no, I was hearing about this, so why don't we do this now?" And it's just sort of like, "Okay, sure, yeah, okay." And yeah, it's definitely the start of the year is always exciting to figure out, where things are going. I mean, it's good. It's good problems to have, right?
Totally. So today we're talking about the state of social media platforms, and that's not a Rena title because Rena likes really specific titles. That's a Phelan title. So, Phelan, why don't you
That
just
was Phelan being
let us
pressured by
know what
Pip
you're
to come up
thinking
with a title on the spot, and I just randomly came up with that as quick as I could. That was
Yeah. So let's just unpack that a bit and let us know what exactly it was that you were thinking that we were going to sort of get into here.
I want to see something. Can
what we're
nothing.
live.
I know. Hi.
What do you do?
Sorry. I had to check something.
What? I have no clue what just happened there, other than Pip wanted to say hello. Okay, so that was definitely not unexpected. And so, oh, you are frozen. Hi.
I know. I'm just trying to shut everything else down.
Yeah, no problem at all. I had to do the same thing for this one. It was just like, how many programs can I have and run Ecamm? Turns out a few.
Not much.
Yeah, not as many as I would like. And it's so yeah. Just to unpack it just a little bit, what I was meaning, I did leave it kind of vague, but I meant it not when I was coming up with the idea of like what is the state of social media. I meant it more not in like individual platforms, but more kind of like the trend lines that
Overall.
things are changing
Yeah.
in, and especially
Yeah.
going into this new year because there's been a lot of changes in platforms. Meta's gone through a lot of changes. Um, you know, short video was all the rage last year. Is it going to continue to be the like things like that where they're not like individual like what is the X platform doing, but moreover like what are the trends that are emerging?
Yeah. All right. So, although I like specifics, so the way that I'm answering this is more specifics.
Fair.
So, do you want to jump in or do you want me to jump in?
No, no. You can start off. Yeah, definitely.
Great. Okay. And for you, I think there are like, we've got a few visitors in the house. So, if you have any
Yeah.
questions or any observations you want to make, throw them in the chat in the comments. And if you're watching this elsewhere, we're in the cyberpunk um, uh,
Marketing mixer.
marketing mix. Yes, Facebook group. So that's where you can find us live streaming from
Yeah.
every week. And so one of the things that there were a couple of things that I've noticed. And last year I talked about how groups were becoming more and more important, and then I figured that this is what Facebook was going to be focusing on. And we did see a rollout of a bunch of new tools, fun tools actually, and people have really been growing their groups, and it's been a really nice place to play. But what I did notice a couple of weeks ago, last month, I think I commented on this, how um, Facebook is kind of stepping in the moderation section. So I can see
Mm.
how this would be helpful in some of the groups that have very poor or low moderation input, manual moderation, where there ends up being a lot of spam. So I noticed a couple of months ago that Facebook was um, identifying what it thought was spam, and then and it was putting it into sort of like a little timeout corner for the
Mm.
moderators to find. And it's not that easy to find it. And also, the people that post don't realize that it goes there. So there was sort of this movement to educate the users on how to make things avoid the spam corner. Then last week, I found that not only are they suggesting spam to moderators for posts, they're
Hmm.
actually blocking comments on those posts, and those are not being seen at all if they have a link in them. And even if you put text in with the link, I noticed, which was really weird because I could understand a lot of spammers just like link drop. They just throw the link in with no text, no
Yeah.
context, no anything. But even one of the comments was, oh, here's a great resource. And then they dropped a link, and that was prevented from being seen. So I
Hmm.
suspect that, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I suspect that there won't be a need for moderators in the near future, and Facebook will be taking back the controls of those spaces, just like they took back the controls of Facebook pages. And then it's not going to be so much fun for business owners or people that are trying to generate income out of those spaces, because it's going to become a more pay to play space than it has been. So groups have been largely good algorithm and still a great space. I think we're moving out of that. So you might want to consider what you're doing with your groups.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's definitely. I think yeah, that's going to be a big one of the push and pull with moderation and how much gets automated, how much it's by a person. I think
Yes.
that that's also like I mean that's been a perennial issue, but it's definitely come to the fore in the last
Yes.
2 years where people have become much more cognizant of what gets automated and
Yes.
what gets like actually done by a person. And I think
Yeah.
that I mean obviously there's it's a pendulum that kind of swings back and forth. And I think that right now, I think that the AI overcompensation is right now in effect. I think is kind of the big one. And so,
All right. So we have a question here: best social platform to advertise a scholarship. Well, I would first of all figure out what kind of scholarship you're talking about, who your target market is, and then
yeah,
figure out which platform your target market is on. So we would need more information on who your
it,
scholarship is targeting.
she said it
And
was
oh, for
for
mature students. Oh, got it. Okay. Mature students. Well, if we're talking, okay, so the government categorizes mature students as anyone over the age of 24. So I'm thinking you're meaning maybe middle aged or late 30s to onwards. Maybe that might be what you're thinking of. If that's the case, then I would figure lots of people on Facebook still in that age range, and Instagram, and then of course I love TikTok, so I would say TikTok. But if you're thinking of advertising as making posts, organic posts, then um, you're going to probably want to put some ad spend behind that, is what I'm trying to say, on Facebook and Instagram for sure.
yeah. It's
Um,
it's definitely. I would even say maybe LinkedIn as well if people are looking for career changes or anything like
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
it's definitely one that could be out there. I mean, it totally depends on what it is and what you're
yeah,
expected to be. But yeah, definitely one where if you want to put a little bit of advertisement behind it or something, if you're trying to get word out there, that Facebook and Instagram would probably be a good match because age
yeah,
ranges are usually, the career change of like early 30s to mid 40s, that kind of career change.
yeah.
It's going to be that the demographics are just going to be Facebook and Instagram. Like that's just
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Okay, next question. Why do so many businesses avoid TikTok? Oh, that's easy. I can tell you, because this is why I'm avoiding it too, is because people don't like to be in front of a camera.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
there are lots of businesses on TikTok now. I've started following quite a few businesses to see what they're doing and how it's working out for them. And it's a fun place, and it really does get you. The algorithm is just phenomenal. It's way better than any of the other ones. So, what most people are doing, the current strategy really is to move people from TikTok to their website or to another social media platform. So you might have a short clip video. If your point is to get them more information, then you would send them to a YouTube where the long play is, and some people are sending people to their Instagram account where their long play is. It's kind of like the dudes are going to YouTube, the women are going to Instagram. But for direct sales, like immediate sales, if you don't need to give them a lot of more information, then the sales pages will be linked in their bios. So that's kind of the way that TikTok works.
Yeah, one I will post in it that I found was Exploding Topics, which is one of my favorite websites where it's basically they do a lot of big data over Google Trends. And what the first one was businesses are actually taking advantage of TikTok,
Yeah,
especially in this last year. Yeah, they're saying
yeah,
2022.
22,
90% are spending money to promote their brands on social media, and it's even though like TikTok is like minority, it's still growing the fastest out of all of them.
yeah.
So it's def-
Interestingly, I found another stat that you might like, Phelan. Listen to this one.
oh yeah,
So I just sort of Googled out your topic name because you know how I am about these things,
yeah,
and I got these social media stats for Canada, and still, um, people are using an average of social media only 1 hour a day, which I thought was not that much compared to how much time I spend on social media. So I suppose that they're looking at it from all Canadians. So maybe there are a lot of people that are still not online or not, maybe we have an older demographic that's not there. But I thought that was amazingly low. What do you
uh
think?
I mean, well, there's a couple of things where it's like, well, is it strictly social media that gets used? So, like, I guess like any sort of blogging content or anything that's like, or
Wait,
does YouTube count? Like, there's all kinds of weird edge
yes.
cases
Oh,
about
yes,
like,
yes, yes. So let me just qualify all that for you. Where is my number
okay,
again?
okay,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, no, those are excellent questions because I wish people would ask those questions when they're putting up the stats for more important issues in the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, so they included platforms. They included um, they divided it all up, and overall it was 1 hour. So they were divided into really interesting categories I never thought about. So, for example, they don't put Instagram under social media platform. They put that under a media sharing platform, which is not how I would think of Instagram
yeah,
or any of those things. And then they divided into chats, like the messaging style, like WhatsApp, Messenger, and Telegram, and those types of places. They had that as a separate category, and then they included WordPress under microblogging, which I really that got under my skin a little bit because
yeah. That
WordPress was
seems
never should
definitionally,
never be yeah, it should never be microblogging. I think they probably meant to have the overall category blogging, but
yeah.
then have microblogging within that. But I mean, nobody should be microblogging on a WordPress site. FYI, BT dubs. Like that's just bad
Yeah,
for your
that's that.
organic SEO.
Um, yeah, I mean, like that compared to like a Twitter or Tumblr, it's just like that. The
Yeah.
very different applications
Yes.
of how to be using those systems, and
Yes.
I
Exactly.
so I definitely agree with Sadea, who said that in metro areas, 1 hour a day sounds low.
Yes. Right.
Uh,
Exactly. That's what I think too.
I mean, from my own experience, I don't like even when I was living in Vancouver, I was mostly listening to podcasts. So I wouldn't have counted as social media because that doesn't fit into that Rubicon,
Yeah.
or that sorry that not that Rubicon, but that rubric. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Uh,
Yeah.
and so it's definitely one. So I'm also gonna post the exploding topics in the comments
That sounds good.
because there's actually some really cool ones with just ones where obviously AI powered stuff is going to become bigger, though I think that most people don't. I think they're overestimating how good it's going to get because let's just say the AI tools hit the uncanny valley quite quickly. Uh,
Yeah, so there's yes, so that's actually an excellent segue into the next. I know that you had a few things to talk about this, but
oh,
I
go,
also
go
have
ahead.
some bits to put in. A good segue because AI, I think, is going to be a really important piece moving forward. And there have been a few different approaches. Some people are like, "Oh, it's going to take away all the jobs," and then, of course, you had mentioned the uncanny about it, and it's true. I did some reading since the last time we spoke, and one of the things is that you still can, just like you can tell when a blog article is written by a writer versus an SEO writer. Like there are definite distinctions that you can tell in the format and how the language is, and you can tell the difference between an English lit grad and a marketing writer, like a
Yeah.
copywriter. You can really tell those differences. So there are sort of weirdo little ways where you look at the sentences and what they're saying, and you're like, it's not wrong. It's almost like ESL. It's not wrong. It's just not usual, And so it does that sort of, it has that kind of weird feeling in certain areas. And which sort of goes to the sort of colloquialism of communication, I think. And just like you can pick out a British writer from an American writer from an English Filipino writer, like you can
Yeah.
really
Or even
see those things.
or even Canadian to American. There's going to be like weird little
Yeah,
subtleties
exactly.
that
And
even
it's not just in the spelling. It's not just in
Yeah.
the spelling.
yeah, there's going to be always like weird little things that just like that's not the way I would have worded that, or that's not really a metaphor I would have used, or like there's
Yeah,
idioms
yeah,
that you just don't think of that like
yeah.
I think that even and also because they're especially with AI tools because they're predictive. They're taking like 70% of the time the word that follows this one is this, so it's like, well, yeah,
Yes,
but that's not all the time, and there's
that's
going to be
right.
some cases where that's not the case.
That's right. I remember a writer, a blog writer that I was looking at working with, and they had tried to make this metaphor of a bride in her veil, and what she meant was kind of like wrapped beautifully in this sort of veil like material. And what the word that she used was um, strangled. She was strangled by her veil. And it's like, oh, that was jarring for me. But
Yeah.
I can see if you use a thesaurus and you're not really quite clear on word usage, it's not it's not incorrect. Like it does look like that when you look at the photo, but that's not the word that we would use because it has such a negative connotation. So
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
think
So
that there's going to be lots of weirdo little things like that in the AI that we're going to need to use. So this it could be used as a tool to help writers rather than to replace writers. And
yeah. Uh,
and you don't want to just rely on your AI to do all the work, but it can definitely do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, I look at it as basically it's like a template where it's basically going to give you like get rid of blank page syndrome, where you're going to have something that you're going to work with and you're going to be like, I don't like anything in that paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay, rewrite that.
But that's
And it's just a starting point is
and
basically.
just my thoughts on that, because I've just been recently working with a transcription software. It doesn't really make the process that faster. In fact, sometimes it can hinder, because when I'm listening to a video and I'm transcribing it myself into a blog article, I'm typing super fast and I can think of the way that I want the words to be put in right away. But working with somebody else's first draft can sometimes be so clunky that it takes almost the same amount of time. So, like I don't, it's going to really depend on your subject matter and how accurate you need things to be and how much you want it to reflect your brand in particular as to how useful you're going to find it.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I think that everyone. I'm definitely with you with. Someone's asking what transcription software were you using?
Oh, I forgot, but I will,
Was it
I
was it
will look at it.
Rev?
I think it starts with a D. I think it's a Descript or something like that. I
Descript?
will,
Yeah,
I,
we love Descript. Descript's just,
Yeah, it's totally great, but it doesn't
oh,
like
it's
the way that I think and approach writing. I find it actually kind of hard to work with these things, these transcripts. I prefer to flow from my first. I prefer to start here and flow with my brain and not work with somebody else's like anything. Um,
that's fair.
only
I mean,
point. Yeah, it just
with
depends on how I like to work.
yeah, I was just gonna say,
Sorry.
as a guy named Phelan, yes, I get the transcription software might not be the best tool in the box is to use, and like expect that. Yeah, a lot of names. I just find it. We mostly use it for like transcribing sales meetings, so you can
Yes,
find the
that makes
keywords that someone
that's
said,
yes,
and then just go back
yes,
like, oh, I know that they said that there was a key like specific keyword, so you know what the question is, and then just go find that question, and you
yeah.
could just go
It
listen to
helps
it
you find.
again.
That's actually really smart. I've never thought of transcribing my sales calls. That's actually very, very smart. I'm going to think about that. And then the other point that I wanted to talk about with AI, which is also important, is that it's going to be easier for people who are experts in their field to work with the AI in their field because that person is going to know the right questions to ask to get the right kind of blog article out. So you need to really be able to set up the who's asking the question because you have to actually sort of figure out who are we writing this for. And then you have to know what the questions are that to ask, and then you get a blog article. So a lot of people try and fake knowing expert information like that, or like specific information for a field. You're not going to be able to just take AI if you don't really understand the topic matter in the right way to ask the right questions. And then you're also going to need to understand the subject matter enough to assess where the AI has gone a little bit awry. So those
Yeah,
are important
I
points.
would say, as a very concrete example of that one that has come up, is that Stack Overflow will ban you as a user, which is like that's where people ask coding questions. Is Stack
Oh,
Overflow like I have this bit of code, it's not working? Can someone help me figure out why? You are banned. You will be banned if you use GPT-3 because it will generate code. But the problem is, and this is goes back to how we said it was predictive. It's a predictive algorithm. It is not, but code is not predictive. Code is
yes.
deterministic, so that it actually is determined by only if this, then this will happen. Then
Right,
it
right,
generates
right.
a specific outcome based on that as a logical outcome, not like guessing based on a range of possibilities. It's a specific thing.
Yeah. Actually, your explanations right there was a really good distinction between predictive and the other one, because I've always had a hard time explaining what predictive actually, how it actually works compared to anything else. People just kind of glaze over when you're talking
Yeah.
about
Well, and I find that it's like a more concrete example of using it as like calling it code. Code is very like it's deterministic. Like this will happen. It's
that. Yes.
zero. Like you
Yeah.
calculate these things. This is what will
Yeah.
come out. Whereas
Yeah.
like the GPT takes like a wide range of things and kind of like guesses, and it kind of looks right. But like if you know anything about how it works, like how code
Yeah.
works, it just does not work
Right. So it's not going to
whatsoever.
work for code. So I wonder if there are other spaces in which it's just not going to work for. That's interesting. I'm going to look into that. That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Um, oh,
Uh,
right. Did
of
you have
course.
anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did say. Oh, so Sadea was asking if you use it, what will ban you? It is the mods of Stack Overflow because they can retrofit because it's predictive. Google has already done this where it can pick apart GPT-3, so it
Yeah.
knows if you've used GPT-3, and then it will take your user account and then ban you.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the other thing that we need to talk about is copyright issues. We still don't know how that's going to fall. There is a
oh,
copyright.
no, it's already that got
Oh,
determined in
did
the
it get
court.
resolved? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so
And that's
an AI
resolved.
generated comic book that no one is allowed to have rights to it.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, sorry,
So,
I did know that one. So there, someone generated an entire comic book,
yeah,
and then they were like, "How would this flow with copyright?" And the courts just said, "Because no one created it. It was created by a predictive algorithm. The algorithm doesn't have any necessarily rights." I'm not a lawyer. Don't like
but
take
that's
it as
so
legal.
weird because in the art world, if I conceive of a project and then I hire a photographer to actually do the prints, it's I'm still the artist and copyright holder of those
But
things.
that's because that was entered into two people who are able to enter a contract. An algorithm can't
Right,
enter a
right, right. Got
contract.
it.
So like that's where it gets all like that's where that all comes up is that
Right, right, right. But what about the compute? Like, what about search? Like, lots of people use search results as material for art,
and they're still
and
people.
they still
They're,
get because. Sorry, you're
they're still
shaking your
people.
head.
Like you're using that word people. people are using it.
Yeah,
So, but an algorithm isn't a person.
got it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, got it. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be super interesting. So I could take that same comic book and upload it to my Etsy account and sell it.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I mean,
Right.
I'm going to assume that Cory Doctorow is like screaming at me if he was watching this right now about how this copyright all works, and he'd probably have a bunch of edge cases. Who is a gentleman who everyone should listen to for anything about copyright and digital space and all that stuff, because it's a very interesting guy there. But yeah, it's definitely one where it's not a lot of it because it's still algorithms. Let's just not worry about it. Because we are coming up on time, there's a couple of other topics that I did want to mention. The whole influencer marketing thing is still not going away. Searches for it are the highest they've ever been, whether it's micro, just influencer marketing in general. People are still looking to get in front of people and have a trusted name for that part.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's going to boom even further because they have so many more platforms now to match up brands with influencers without having to
Yeah.
go and do the research yourself and figure and then contact the person on a side channel. You can actually there are now these ways of getting in there to meet the right people and get the right places.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely
agencies
one
are
where I've seen it. Like there was a big to do about some of the YouTube channels that I followed that were selling like I don't know some spot in Scotland, and it would buy you a tree. Anyway, it turned out to be entirely false, and so a lot of
oh
like
no.
YouTube channels had to eat crow and like go out there and be like, yeah, we were completely lied to. We thought this was like a real thing, and it turns out that the gentleman who was behind it was lying. um,
Was it an art project like the hot dog water?
no, this one was fake property in Scotland to get yourself a title because of the way I won't go into the details of it, but needless to say, it was a big to do in I think November about like turns out that this person paying us money and you were buying product from them and it was not what it was advertised.
I think you should put the link to that news article in the comments too. I would like that.
Yeah, I got to go find it. It's been a while. I just ringed out in my head when we were like doing influencer marketing. I'm like, oh yeah, then there's like people that are gonna, and I think that there's also been networks of things that have grown up as well, not just like where there's someone who like it's an actual job is to be an influencer manager who is a
Yes,
go
and
between.
more agencies are offering to navigate this for brands. Way
Yeah,
more agencies. I've been approached. I know of three just in the last few months. Um, and before that, it was really only high end people had agents.
exactly. And the more that it becomes embedded and there's more networks, I think that it's just going to be a part of it. And especially in, an area where we're getting a more media saturated kind of economy where it's like, hey, you're having this parasocial relationship and yada, yada, that it's going to be one where there's going to influence, people are going to want to monetize their audience. And that's just kind of an algorithm of how the internet's been moving so far. So I definitely think
Yeah.
it's a big one there. I did want to say that one that did come up, and I think that it's one where the tools are getting built out a lot better. And this was actually pioneered more in China, and it's now coming to us, which is social commerce. So it's being able to buy
Right.
while someone is on a live stream, being able to buy the product that
Yes,
they
that's
are.
right. Yes, like the shopping channel.
Yes, it's very much like the QVC kind of style, but it's all done in an app, and it was pioneered by Byte. Not, is it still called TikTok in China? I forget, but whatever the TikTok's parent company is in China, pioneered this probably 5-6 years ago, and so it's just become bigger, and now it's kind of permeated. And so the other thing is that like Google has built that in with the YouTube Live so that you can do that completely inside of YouTube now, complete checkout inside of YouTube.
Yes.
That's going to become bigger. TikTok's building its integration with Shopify, and that's coming to the fore as well.
One of those, I forgot which one. I gotta look it up. One of those brands is going to abandon in video shopping, though. I forgot which one it was. That just launched in a news reel that I saw yesterday. I think.
In video shopping, like a
Yeah,
social
like
media.
mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'll put the details of that
Yeah.
in the comments. All right.
Yeah.
So we should probably wrap up though, because we were a little bit late, but we're a little bit late. No.
Yeah. I think, well, and I think we covered a wide berth
Yeah.
of
We
everything that's
caught,
kind of
caught
going
everything.
on out there with the social media. And I think that yeah, kind of gives, there's a lot of, things are not all doom and gloom. There's definitely a lot of interesting things that are happening out there in social media, and a lot of interesting trends that are happening as well.
Yeah. So next week is Pip and me on how to put together an annual marketing plan. I'm very excited about that, and I know that that is one of Pip's favorite topics. So that should
Yeah.
get pretty exciting. So join us next week, always Thursday at 11, in the Geek Speak Marketing Mixer Facebook group. Join us there.
All right. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.